Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here and I'm back again with a brand new video. So this is going to be my 2-day review of the 2025 Moto G Stylus 5G. I've used this phone extensively for the past 2 days, so I am extremely confident in giving you guys a sort of a review on this phone. And this is honestly one of my favorite phones that I've used this year so far for that price range. So it starts at $399 and you get a lot of things that make this phone worth that $400 price point. And in addition to that, I do want to add that a lot of carriers in the United States do give offers such as getting this phone for 200. I've seen it go for $100. So check with your carrier, see if you can get it cheaper, because if you can, at that point it will be a steal. Now, from a design perspective, they not necessarily gave it an overhaul from the previous generation. They more so, what they did is, so they added a new color and also gave the camera module a sort of a redesign. Now, from, again, a design perspective, I'm not really too mad at it. I really enjoyed last year's generation design and I'm not disappointed that they brought it back again for this year. And also, you have to understand that attention to detail on this phone is much better to that than the Moto G or the Moto G Power. So you can see on the sides or the rails of the phone, the chrome blue finish, also with the kind of matte plastic blue finish to it, looks pretty good. Now, this phone does have a headphone jack, a USB-C that is capable of charging 68 watts, which is crazy, especially for a phone at this price point. And also you have your bottom facing speaker, which we will talk about. In addition to all that, what they did with this year's generation is they did improve the water resistance, so it's now IP68, and also they added military spec certification, which essentially means that this phone has been rigorously tested through harsh environments to withstand sort of, high temperatures and even cold temperatures if you wish, and things like that. So that's definitely a thumbs up if you want a even more durable device. So again, it's another category that they improved upon. So it still is a 6.7-inch AMOLED display that does have a lot of things going for it. So it does support 3000 nits brightness and it does have HDR. But to be honest with you, the 3000 nits peak brightness is peak, right? So if you test the phone, if you actually put the brightness slide all the way up, it's not necessarily going to be 3000 nits, but it does reach a high enough brightness for you to see it in really bright conditions. Also, if we look at it as well, it does still also support a 120 hertz of high refresh rate, which if you think about it, the iPhone 16 or the 16 Plus still are stuck at 60. Yeah, but anyway, so it also does have an in-display fingerprint sensor, which may not be the fastest, but for the most part it works well. And the bezels are very uniform on this phone, and it does support 89%, or if you want to be a little bit more accurate, 89.3% screen to body ratio. So all in all, it's a really solid display. As far as durability of the display though, it does only support Corning Gorilla Glass 3, so it's not as durable of a display as other devices, but I'm not really too mad at it. Watching videos, going through social media, anything that will require you to use this phone would be definitely a solid experience overall. So thumbs up for that. Definitely another category that Motorola did a good job in improving. Now, the other category that we need to talk about is the camera. So this phone does have a quote-unquote triple camera setup, but realistically it's a dual camera setup, with your third camera being sort of a additional sensor to help with the processing. So you get a 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture wide sensor, and you get a 13 megapixel 120 degree ultra wide sensor. The main sensor does support optical image stabilization. You also have 4K video recording and 1080p up to 120 frames per second. The selfie camera is a 32 megapixel f2.2, and it does also support 4K video recording, so that's nice. As far as the camera app itself, it's just a familiar Motorola camera app, not too much has changed. I do have to say that switching between the main sensor and the ultra wide is still a little bit sluggish, so it's not as fast as I would like it to be, but overall, not too bad. And again, another category that they improved upon. As far as I'm concerned, I will be doing a full camera review of the 25G Stylus, so stay on the lookout and stay tuned for that. But until then, here's what I have to say about the camera. So first of all, the pictures that it takes is very familiar, and I would say does a decent job, but it also does a harsh job in sort of over sharpening. So that's a problem that they did have with the 25 Moto Razr that I did a camera review on. But as far as colors go, they're decent. Not the most accurate because they're slightly saturated, but the over sharpening on this phone is actually sometimes a little bit way too aggressive. It looks good at times, other times it's just a little bit too much. The HDR on here is decent, the dynamic range is also fair and it's decent. The ultra-wide sensor is also, you're going to lose quality, but it works fairly well. In environments where artificial light is there, you're going to also lose quality. The selfie camera is actually a nice improvement to that of previous generation. As far as video, I want you guys to watch it and I'll give you my thoughts on it after. Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and this is your video test of the 2025 Moto G Stylus. So basically this phone is capable of shooting 4K at 30 frames per second, but I'm currently shooting at 1080p, which allows me to switch between my main camera and my ultra wide. Now obviously there's going to be a downside to using the ultra wide, for example resolution quality, but it's a fun, give you like a more field of view. And yeah. So you can't go between the main camera to the selfie camera. Unfortunately, it's not as cool as Samsung, but it works. And it works fairly decent. So as you can see though, the skies are kind of overexposed. Yeah, it doesn't really do a good job in balancing exposure, but that's okay. So I would say overall though, from the camera perspective, it takes some pretty decent pictures, and it is a slight improvement to that of the previous generation. The video quality, it's questionable. It's okay at best. Okay, so I want to switch the conversation and talk a little bit about the performance, and without diving too deep into specs, well, let's do it. So you get the Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor. It's an octa-core chip, 710 Adreno for your GPU, 128GB of storage, 8GB of RAM, and my most impressive spec here is the 68 watt of fast charging. So this is definitely something that is crazy, and this phone also supports 15 watts of wireless charging, and this phone charges so quickly. I did use my MacBook charger on it and it was crazy, it was insane. So definitely for a phone in this sort of price realm, it's impressive. On the synthetic benchmarks, this phone also scores 977 on a single core and 2715 on a multi-core. And to be honest with you, that's not really all that impressive. So if you think about it, this has a similar score to that of the Galaxy A54 from a few years ago. So that's not something to really impress me just from the processor standpoint, but it seems like a typical mid-range processor. Even the Galaxy A36 does have the same processor. Now, if we look at it from your typical performance, this phone does well on the everyday tasks, and when it comes to gaming or things like that will stress the processor and the graphics chip, this phone does fine. I didn't really experience a lot of hiccups. Did it get warm? Yeah, but it's typical. It didn't really get extremely hot or extremely uncomfortable. So for that, definitely works very well. Now, I do have to say that when you do launch even more graphics heavy games, then that's where you're going to see more hiccups, more slower frame rates and things like that. So keep that in mind. This is at the end of the day still a mid-range phone. And the battery life on here and the efficiency on here is very good. It's not the greatest, battery life recently did receive a bump. So you've been seeing smartphones with 6,000, 5,200, 5,300 milliamp hour battery. This still gives you the standard 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but for the most part, it will get you through the day, no problem. And you can always top it off with that 68 watt fast charging speed. So definitely something to be impressed about. Now, the star of the show is the Stylus. At the end of the day, this is what this phone is named after. But they really didn't give too much attention to the Stylus other than adding few features. The design of the Stylus is still the same, but the features that you have are still from previous generations, such as Moto Note. So you still have Moto Note, screenshot, face-to-face freeform crop, and you can add some more features. You even have some AI features that will require you to create a Motorola account. I just didn't feel like it, but you have it if you need it. So to jot down notes and do things that you would do on the Stylus, it works fairly well. It's decent, it's accurate, it's not digital, or it doesn't really, integrate. It integrates well enough for the display, but to be honest with you, I use the Stylus from time to time. My favorite two features are the kind of this handwriting calculator app, and also the write to search. So those are the two features that I really use the most. Other than that, it's there if you need it. It's just an additional tool. To be honest, I feel like even Motorola at this point thinks the same. It's sort of an afterthought, but That's that. Now, my bottom line for this device is this. This is definitely a well-rounded phone. It's good in pretty much all categories. It's not perfect. It's not going to impress you as far as the highest specs or the highest camera quality. But overall, though, it's a very well-balanced device. Now, when it comes to the competition, the two main competitors of this phone in my eye is the Nothing Phone 3A and the Samsung Galaxy A36, which neither of these phones do have wireless charging. So if you guys want to see a comparison between the 25 Moto G Stylus and the Nothing Phone 3A or the Galaxy A36, let me know. With that being said, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about this phone, and I want to thank you all so much for watching.